the DC Youngfly thing, just I think it floored everybody. And especially in the comedians world. So his partner, Jackie O, I mean, everybody knows she passed away. They got 3 little kids. And I think as a stand-up, people don't realize all that goes into it. And when you got to have a good team around you to just make your life functional. Like I said, this week I was with this young guy, Adam, and I said he don't have any kids. He doesn't have a wife. He's just single out there living life. When you're in that stage of your life, stand-up's great. It's not even how much money you make. I mean, keep in mind, you're tapped in socially. When you're on stage and nobody else is in town and you rip on that stage, whether you're in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Chicago, Illinois, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or Meridian, Mississippi, I mean, when people are there, they're captivated by you. And at that point, it don't matter how many movies you've been in, how many tickets you sold. You're the guy for that moment, for that crowd when you're on stage. So you are Kevin Hart. You are Jerry Seinfeld. You are George Carlin in that moment on stage. And when you're singing with no kids, it's no problem. You got to keep in mind, like DC Youngfly's got 3 young kids, and now their mom's gone. And so it's one thing to take the grieving part. Now he's got to get through that. And then you got to get into like, oh man, life's got to keep going. So now he's got to be a father to these 3 kids, and they don't have their mom anymore. And I don't know how they ran their household, because it seemed like DC was the one like, okay, I'm about to take the reins and I'm going to handle shit. And I'm going on the road and I'm going to do these movies. And he was on the tour, and it was just like, man. And they got the Netflix special coming out, 85 South. And I know he's got a lot of good friends and coworkers, but I can't even imagine what he has to do now just to get back on the road to make sure his kids are okay. And when somebody passes like this unexpectedly, we tend to focus on how they died and not focus on how the people around them are going to continue to live. I can't even imagine. I always said, like, shouts out to my ex-wife, because take our problems aside, I never had to worry about my kids when I was on the road, ever. I always said I had such peace of mind because I knew she wasn't out in the streets, and I knew the kids came first, and I knew that they were taken care of when I was on the road. And I'm sure DC had that same relationship with Jackie O. So when this came out that she passed away, I'm just like, that's where I go when things like that happen to stand-ups. And it's just like, anybody knows DC, he's an old soul. He's not in it for the party. He's not in it for the quote-unquote perks. Those come with it, and those are great. You're able to get into sporting events. You're able to get into concerts. You're in rooms that a lot of people, 90% of the country, can't get in. That comes with it. But if you ever talk to DC and you've worked with him, you know one thing he does, he gets on his knee and he prays before every show. And it ain't for show. Like, he's in it. He is literally thanking God for his life before every show. And anybody's worked with him, you know I'm telling the truth. He's right, and it's always right before he hits the stage. It ain't when he gets to the venue. It's right before they announce his name. And so there's a level of spirituality there that's probably going to carry him through this. He always is just he's a sponge for knowledge when it comes to this game. He will pull you aside and ask questions and swap stories, and as loud and boisterous as he is on stage. Now, he has his moments off stage, but that dude will sit and listen. He will sit back and listen to the quote unquote OGs swapping stories. And that's when those guys that do that, that's when I'd be looking in rooms like, oh, they're going to be all right in this business. because they're just soaking it up. And I mean, as young, I don't care how successful you are. I don't care if you're a Matt Rife now, a DC Youngfly, any of these young comics, man. And I was there when I first got to L.A. just to sit in a room and listen to a Bernie Mac talk or Cedric the Entertainer talk or Steve Harvey or any of these kings of comedy, Paul Mooney, just any of these guys when I first got to L.A. and just could sit in the back and listen to them share road stories. And there's nothing like it. And it's something that we hold on to as stand-ups. We get to share those moments with each other backstage in the green room and get to know each other. And you get to share the stories, the good and the bad, about baby mamas, wives, girlfriends, run-of-the-mill, just women. We get to share those stories with each other. And you're not privy to that unless you're backstage in the green room. And DC's always one that when he was on these big tours and these shows, he sat back and he listened. He was just on the tour with Cedric, DL. Who else on that? Who was that? Straight No Chaser tour? Who else was on that? I don't want to disrespect anybody, leave anybody out. It was a Straight No Chaser tour. Let's see. Because I know if I was on the tour, I'd be like, you didn't even say my name, bro. Straight No. There it is. Just a second. Okay, so yeah, Mike Epps, D.L. Hughley, Earthquake, Cedric, DC Youngfly, and I'm sure they interchanged some of them, but just to sit in the back and listen to those guys swap stories. I guarantee you I wasn't on that tour, but I guarantee you when they was backstage, DC was like this, just soaking it up, just soaking up the knowledge, and shouts out to his 85 South crew, Chico Bean and Carlos Miller. I know they're going through it too. I mean, those guys, they came up together. This is what you got to realize about stand-ups. When you get on a tour or you're at these comedy clubs, every headliner, we have our openers. Well, now, granted, I said we got Adam, but I got my guy T-Robe and I got my guy Rob, who's on the road with me 90% of the time. You spend more time with those guys than your own family. They become your second family. They know more about you than probably your family does because they see everything. And it's just like, so for Carlos and Chico to go through this too, I guarantee you, I mean, DC had shared his whole life with them. Probably the day he met Jackie O on Wildin' Out to when they start dating to when she got pregnant with the first kid, like they're going through it too. So stand-up it's an interesting business because most holidays we got to go out there and we got to leave our families to entertain other people. I'm in Chicago on Father's Day this year. New Year's Eve's a big day. Easter's a big weekend. It's just like Valentine's. Either when you get to the point where you have, like DC's got 3 kids, you get to the point like they're young, they can't come to every city, so you can't bring them to every show, so you're going to miss holidays. And it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it for people to feel sorry for us. It's a great life. Don't get it twisted. We got a job that we enjoy. I always say, like, I don't ever make me feel guilty about enjoying my career because I enjoy it thoroughly. And for him, I just, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what he's going through. And the kids, like, God, they're missing their mother. And now he's got to completely because you get on autopilot. When you're on the road, you're on autopilot. So I guarantee you DC was like, all right, I got these dates. He probably sat down with Jackie. They went over when the kids can come on certain shows. Where they going to be this week? You got them this week. You're good. Good. It's all like, and now it's all just up in the air. He's got to totally revamp everything. Got to revamp the way he moves, who's watching his kids, where they're going. And it's just like, it sucks. It sucks. I just feel bad for him, thinking about you. I don't even know how to reach out. Like I'm sure your phone is just like blowing up, and only thing you can really add is thinking about you. You're on my thoughts and everything, and it's just like because he's really one of the good guys in this business. There's some people in this business you're like, but I mean, DC's literally one of the good guys. When I first met him was Dayton, Ohio, and I was at the airport, and I was flying out, and he was flying in, and I didn't really know him. I just knew him from the internet. That's when, before he really had anything, he just had the "fuck you mean," and he was just going in on different celebs, and they would do stuff, and I was like, oh, it's kind of funny. Found his niche, and Will Packer found him and put him in the Christmas movie about 8 years ago. And I remember I passed him at the airport, and we made eye contact. And I think like one of the guys he was traveling with was like, "Yo, Gary Owen, like what's going on?" I remember DC just looked at me and goes, "Hey, what's up, man? Hey, I fucks with you, man. I fucks with you." And I was like, "Yeah." And then I did a little post afterwards. I go, "Hey, I just met DC Youngfly for the first time. Fuck you mean." And that's all I said. I said, "I don't know if I'm saying it right. Fuck you mean." But that was our first interaction. And ever since then, every time I see him, it's just love. Some people, when you're on these quote unquote ensemble shows or these tours, you'd be like, you know what you're gonna get. I mean, everybody's had their bad days and good days, but you're like, I don't know what kind of attitude this person's gonna be in when I see him. Or some people you just don't want to be around. Personality. Some personalities don't click, and I think I speak for like just about every comic out there. You never feel that way with DC. You know what it is. You know he's going to come in. He's going to be a ball full of energy. It's going to be positive. He's going to be cutting up backstage. But like I said, when the OG starts talking, he's the guy just sitting there like, you could tell he's just soaking it in. And he's not trying to cut anybody off or throw in a story that's not needed. He just listens, and he's just soaking it all up, It just feel bad. That was a rough week, man. So, before we, the social media and the internet's going to do what they do. But for those of us that are stand-ups that are in this business, we know what's important. It ain't about how she died, why she died. It's just she passed away, and now we all got to be there for DC, like whatever he needs.